Alright, time to check what the side material is. Starting with first filling in the entries of the journal that I didn't really read much, particularly, for example, the one about Mick Cutler.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get also the text of the audio and Monaco journal later. Don't worry.
Alright then.
Alright, there's a lot that
So
it's totally...
Joel's dad.
There's a lot that it's told in this description that I will read, but I will tell later because it's a bit, you know, since it's handwritten, it's a bit hard to spot. What essentially tells is that let me read this. The little warden, standing roughly 7 feet tall and weighing over 300 pounds, this sadistic convicted murder represents the worst of humanity.
That's
apparently, Jova, you ask why he was actually got in prison. The handwriting of the journal basically says that he was a member of SERPA. He was arrested for burglary after stealing money and other articles from his colleagues, and at the police station when he was taken for questioning, he stabbed 2 people with a pen.
So he was just always crazy. That said,
yeah,
I find it weird that, I mean, you know, that's not to say that the handwriting stuff isn't legible, but, like, I mean, look at this.
You have to pay attention, basically.
But look at this one. This one actually does give a printed transcript of what's
because
written
it's
on
stylized.
the
Again, like in the first game, it's stylized in the form of journals and stuff. This one, I might as well just not read at this point. It's essentially protocol in case of chemical bite while with using the hail vaccine, unless it's too late in case, well, kill them.
Kill it with fire, apparently.
Literally.
Since, it does say cremation. I mean, maybe I'm spoiled.
I mean, as long as it works.
Anyway, maybe I'm spoiled by modern games, and I bet if I had enough time I could focus and read that stuff, but for people who may have issues focusing in on that, it feels weird that they didn't provide, like, a type transcript like, well,
that's also the thing. I think we mentioned during the run.
Technically, we are looking at one right now, Joe.
Yeah, usually
I'm talking
when
about
it comes
the previous
to
one.
True, but Jova as a point, you know, the fact that hold on, dear Mom, we were almost done building the church when the first attacks came. Some of the other missionaries want to leave. Some say we should stay and do what we want. We can. I don't know what to do. They want to teach me to fight, but I never liked guns. I wish this was all a bad dream. All these reaches you and that you're okay. I miss you and Dad terribly. Love, Amelia.
But yeah, see, stuff like this actually does provide the print transcript.
But it's only for Manikov journal. The scribbling is not actually transported. I think that's what Jova means, and I do agree with that.
Yeah.
John, I've been here in Haven for almost 4 years now. I've gotten to know lots of folks, but there is nobody I trust more than you. You work hard, you fight hard, and you don't ask for much. You're a hero to me and many others. I feel like you and I have rebuilt Haven into a place where families can feel at home, safe and secure. And I've been searching for your family for a long time. Lester told me you just learned they were killed outside Tulsa. I'm really sorry, John. I just want you to know you'll always be a part of our family. Me and Susan and Jack and the rest of us in Haven. We love you like a brother and a son. Joe Capelli.
John, it's been a wonderful time here in Wasteland America. We've been invaded by the Chimeras, but the fight stays true. Back to you, John.
My family's dead!
Very good, John.
A fishing log about ice blocks.
Huh.
Okay. This one actually, yeah, ice everywhere, very thick, grows around those alien tube things. Ice axe don't work. Bring guns next time. But watch out for the blast roots. One shot and they blow up like a piece of a goddamn dynamite.
Huh.
Remember, this is what happens during the level with a boat. So, it is one of the documents that you find there.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they got catfish mostly, okay? 23rd of March 1957. Saw devs called setting fire to almost hatched leaper and green pods. Are we afraid of them? 20th of April 1957. Saw 5 hybrids attacked by a swarm of leapers. Hybrids fought back. Hybrids killed all leapers, but lost one of their own. I think there are 2 types of Chimera now, feral and military. Feral ones survive and probably breed, who knows how, in the wild. 11 of 5 1957. Grims down the river turned feral, went after 2 steelheads and killed them both. Brutal. Wasn't even a fair fight. 14th of June 1957, saw a Widowmaker on the horizon. God help us if it's feral.
Oh, boo-hoo, everybody has problems.
In this case, it's a giant alien menace.
One that, if you're not inoculated against, can indeed turn you into one of them as well.
But hey, the dental plan is fine.
I guess.
There's that.
They certainly seem to
A
bite
Vito
well.
flight manual.
Vertical
If-
take,
When in
off,
this ca-
landing, and landing. Okay.
There you go. Although in that case, it was just the cover, there was nothing else to read. Indications for the L vaccine for using preventing transmission of or treating the effects of a Chimerian virus. Instruction: draw 0.5 millimeters of vaccine to a syringe, find a vein in the pocket of the left elbow, swab air with alcohol to disinfect, pull skin taut and insert needle at a 45-degree angle. On a straight-head, patient may feel weak and lightheaded for several minutes as the hail immunogens affect immune cells.
So it's a vaccine, but
It's literally called.
You find the vein in the pocket. You swab the area with alcohol. Doesn't that technically apply to all vaccines?
It's just, protocol, like it said, literally by the book.
I guess.
I got to get out of this city. Charlie and the other remnants say it's safer with them, but they're crazy. They keep picking fights with the Chimera like it's a game or something. I'll be safer on my own. This is one of those notes that you find in the chapter where you meet Charlie and the others, like Ali Healy's character.
Be funny if you find that letter on a corpse.
Usually you do.
Figures.
This letter is in response to the case number 12755156647, violation of state regulation code section 1910.21 F26. This letter hearing gives formal warning to cease and desist industries and all related parties involved in business at 128 Dockside RD, St. Louis, Missouri, 63101. During inspection on March 23rd, 1950, abnormal levels of oxidation and corrosion were discovered on key support beams within the structure, which could lead to progressive collapse. These defects must be addressed by a certified third-party building engineer within the next 20 days. Failure to comply with this warning will result in further warning. Sincerely, David Priest, Code Enforcement Officer and General Inspector. What does this have to do with anything? I have no idea. Because this is part of the thing that you find in the barrack with all the Grims before reaching Charlie. But this is just something that happens before the invasion and has nothing to do with the building. There is no set piece about the building collapsing.
Pointless text log. It's like in the Order 1886.
Or
maybe it's to help establish the world.
Hell,
that's true. Quantum Break is the undisputed king of pointless.
I argue at least the script in Quantum Break has more of a meaning than just a cease and desist letter to a building.
I'm guessing, like Dwib suggested, maybe it's just some world building. Honestly, I see plenty of this stuff in games where something that is seemingly disconnected from everything, but is there to help build up the world, is there?
Anyway, this letter is just from one of the miners in Mount Pleasant, the place where the Congresos community, lives. And remember, this was right around the time, Satan attacked them. In this a bunch of photos, including the attack on the top right. If you act like a keen memory, you actually see the hole where it burst through when you were going to the level. Bill said there might be some weapons inside the train on the bridge, but everyone agrees it's too dangerous to leave town. I'll wait until everyone's asleep and I'll sneak out. If it's God's will for me to die, I welcome his judgment. But if I can't find those weapons and bring them back to town, we might have a chance to survive another few days the winter. Stephen Waybuck. Spoilers, he died too.
Alas.
Alright, from the prison you get a bunch of letters to Mom. Dear Mom, something is happening here. All the guards left. The guy in the cell next to me says the Chimera invaded America. Is it true? I got to get out of here. I will keep writing and mail these letters when I can. Love, Dick. Dear Mom, I am out. I took apart my bed frame and made a couple of tools. It took a long time. My fingers are ripped up, but I did it. And you said thieving was a sin. You should thank God. I know how to pick a lock. I got to decide if I should let the rest of them out. Some of them are real bad guys. But if what they say is true, I'm better off with some friends to fight with.
They're gonna
I
kill
hope you're
him,
doing
aren't
okay,
they?
and I hope to see you soon. Love, Dick.
They killed him, didn't they?
Well, let's see. It's just a second letter. Dear Mom, I know some of the other prisoners, but when they let out the rest of them, there is this one guy, Mick Cutler. He's the leader of a big gang. I told Mick we need to figure out a plan for getting out of prison, but he told me we'll be safer inside the prison. Maybe he's right. I went outside once last week to a town across the river, and it was bad. I hope things are okay wherever you are. Love, Dick.
So you're the reason those maniacs were let loose. My God, I thought it was just the apocalypse, but no, it was this
More like
guy.
a ripple effect. Mick cornered me today. He told me I had to join his gang if I wanted to keep getting food and water. A power play. I reminded him without me he would be rotting in his cell. He reminded me that without him and his pal Herbert, prison would be swarming with Chimera. I wanted to tell me Herbert is not his pal, but that would have been a bad idea. Anyway, there was nothing I could do. We are running out of food. I hope you have food where you are. I hope you still have crosswords to keep you busy. Love, Dick.
Okay, it's interesting to figure out how Mick got into power.
Dear Mom, we took a trip outside today. It's real bad out there. Most of the food is gone. We found a few survivors. I said to Mick we should team up with them, but Mick had other ideas. I couldn't watch. I hope you have found some nice people to take care of you.
How
Love,
are you getting
Mick.
these letters to her at this rate? It sounds like Mick would have been stopping
Well, he
them.
didn't. We all find them in the prison. They never got to her. Dear Mom, Mick has to be stopped. I know it is bad out there, but I think it might be just as bad in here. This is no way for human beings to live. He's an animal, and he's turning the rest of us into animals. I think I'm going to try and kill him. It is going to be hard. Other guys that tried to kill him and take over, but they were found out and butchered. They ain't going to be me. I'm smarter than them. I will be real patient and wait for the right moment. Wish me luck. Love, Dick.
They found
Don't
the
worry,
letters.
Dick. With just a QTE, you should be fine.
I know, right?
Dear Mom, I think Mick is onto me. Some of these guys have been watching me real close lately. My only hope now is escape. Once it gets dark, I'm going to run. All this time, I have been afraid to leave the prison, and now I'm afraid to stay. I hope I get to see you soon. If not, I hope to see you in heaven. Love, Dick.
Wow.
And he died. We found this last letter on his corpse, basically.
Mm.
And the last one in New York is about these particles mashing from SERPA Research Team Delta. Regarding the mechanical physics of a New York City tower, it appears the particle beam released onto the sky is making contact with a second beam at some point in space outside our atmosphere. We believe these events, mashing particles into one another at incredibly high speeds, is currently a lambda particle manifold, connecting two separate regions of space-time. Somehow the chemists have discovered a way to keep the beams perfectly in phase, factoring in the rotation and orbit of Earth. These findings are speculative and subject to error, but it is the belief of this research team that the primary purpose of this phenomenon in the sky is a method of travel. It's literally a wormhole, as Monikov told, that will let the pure chimera from outer space to actually reach the planet once it was terraformed enough. And as such, closing it was important. Anyway, anything else is actually, voiced.
I'll admit, learning more about how Mick got into power is nice, though, man, all that build-up really does make the fact that he gets beaten so easy kind of funny in hindsight.
I'm hungry. I'm really hungry. Come here, Smokey.
Yeah, I think the cat is a bit... Yeah.
So she turned and ate her cat?
Yeah. It's a good thing Shira is not here.
Yeah, I mean...
I want to build a fire, but I'm afraid the smoke will give us away. Maybe we'll try that tomorrow. Tonight.
That's actually not a neat way to explain the fact that the cold environment will prompt you to try to build a fire, but the smoke will actually attract the chimera. That's actually not scarier thought.
Barricaded all the exits. They say it's just a temporary quarantine until they can figure
Massive
out which workers are
gamble.
infected and which aren't. But I've seen those barricades. Nothing temporary about them. wouldn't just leave us in here, would they?
Oh, it's only the U.S. government.
When my family died, I took Papa's rifle and came to the city.
That's how he healed his character, by the way, saying that.
I thought it was Jennifer Hale for a second.
No.
He said I was a good shot, and he's right. He called me a remnant.
Again, I like Alice Hillis as a voice actress, but she doesn't have a lot of inflation. Again, not a critique, just observation.
I think I like being a remnant.
A remnant of despair, you say?
And as you can imagine, all the characters that you met during the journey can be used as skins in multiplayer.
Died today.
Neat.
Well, could be.
It's just me now. I think I can deliver the baby on my own, but I'm not sure if I want to. What kind of a life will it be for him? Or her? What kind of a world is it for me?
Yeah. Let's see from the people in the Mount Pleasant, in the religious community.
Been alone 21 days. No, wait, 22. Last meal was 6 days ago. Hunger used to come and go. Now I feel nothing. Seeing faces in
For the record, in case you're wondering, when you pick them up, you don't actually have to go to the menu to listen. They play automatically. The problem is that you can, if you want to re-listen again, you actually have to use the menu. So it's a 50-50 scenario. It's not as bad as in other cases, but it's not as super convenient as in others.
Let's split up, surround this son of a bitch, show him who's boss.
Also, one detail I noticed on the Leaper Bite journal thing, interestingly enough, the last thing the girl says is, "I love you, Smokey," but that bit is clearly distorted and you can only understand that with the subtitles.
Like I said, the chimeras do speak, but it's normally unintelligible and they normally do not put sub.
Ironically, that last bit implies that the consciousness of the human does stay for a bit enough for them to realize what they've become before they lose their minds.
It seems to be, yes. Well, that's what happened also with Nathan Hale.
What have we become?
Aliens?
Yep, basically.
What have we become?
In hindsight, that was a stupid question.
Day 2. Battle's all but over. Fucking bloodbath. We found 4 other guys from Oscar Company. Goddamn
I think
chimeras
it's
starting to
supposed to
spread
be
out
Josh
for
Keaton.
survivors.
Basically, it's the soldier that you find. The thing is that I'm playing them in chronological order, but the order that you find them is in reverse. So you start by finding the corpse of the character that you see at the beginning of the New York level, the one that had a sniper rifle, and you get to piece how he got there.
4 men down already. Tubes are full of Grims. And worse, the 3 of us are holding our own, but we're running low on ammo. If we can make it to the next platform, we'll head above ground. Sergeant Matheson, Victor Company. Day 6. I'm all alone now. I found a sniper perch in Washington Square. But I ain't gonna be here long. I'm staring at 30 hybrids sniffing around for me, with a dozen drones about to fly up my ass. Got 6 bullets left. 1 grenade. Here we go.
Spoilers, he didn't make it. Yeah. Now for more interesting stuff, the Malikov journey, which is also voiced despite, having text in it.
The Chimera have changed their strategy. They used to capture us, send us to conversion centers, and turn us into hybrids, or worse. Now they kill us, and just leave our bodies to rot. Why the change? Alas, it is a mystery to me. To uncover the Chimeran plan, I must look to their history, their origin, their true nature.
And yeah, even this has the scribbling that says other things like where all the conversion centers gone. Spoilers, but Retribution kinda sorta answers this question, even if it normally is left to a mystery. But
Does
we'll
it?
see.
The Chimera are parasitic organisms, driven by a hive mind. We know this because of Nathan Hale. After he became infected, he struggled to control it, but he succumbed to the hive mind. It is a tragic paradox. To understand the Chimeran plan, one must become Chimeran. There must be some other way. I have traced the origin of the Chimera virus back to the Tunguska meteor impact of 1908. If the virus was introduced via extraterrestrial means, then it must logically follow that some type of Chimera exists elsewhere in the universe. The Chimera are a far more advanced species than I
One
thought.
people in the comments may notice that I ignored mentioning, but yeah, you could see a bunch of prime chimeras in part of the tubes when you go to rescue Marikov in the second game, but they're mostly
We
there
have
just for the
taken
background
material
element.
samples from some Chimeran towers, and by studying their composition, we estimate they were built millions of years ago, before humans even existed. But then, something happened. The towers retracted, the Chimera disappeared. They were here, then they left. A mass exodus. What caused this event?
This
Sounds
is something, one of the
biblical.
things that are left. This is one of the things that are left, vague. We don't know actually why. After the Chimera made the dinosaurs extinct, they went
Chimeran
away.
organisms metabolize at a rate 12 times that of an average human. This creates a tremendous amount of body heat. Thus, they must use a cooling apparatus to survive longer than a few days. I believe the towers are cooling the planet to make it more hospitable for the Chimera. Unfortunately, in the process, humans are dying by the thousands. If we can shut down that tower in New York City, I believe it will disrupt the flow of power to the rest of the towers, and temperatures will return to normal. We must hurry to New York.
Destroying that little split that kick-started all the towers. Was that part of the ultimate Chimeran plan? No, it really feels like a retcon, admittedly. Again, it just feels like the thing of, oh, you thwarted our plan. No, but this was part of a bigger plan, don't you know? Anyway,
In Bryce
important.
Canyon, we discovered
yeah.
Chimeran fossils that dated back to roughly the same time the towers were created. I have named these finds pure Chimera. They are not a fusion of Chimeran and human DNA. They evolved elsewhere, then traveled to Earth somehow. I feel I am getting closer to discovering the Chimeran plan, but this journey to New York is difficult. I must press on.
Sure would
The
be a
answer
shame
is
if you
here
didn't make it
somewhere.
all the way.
If you're seeing this King Wendy 55010, just, I try to pace things in order to give proper revelations when it happens. That's all. And yeah, even the cell of the pure Chimera has a similar structure
There
to
is
one of
something
humans.
that troubles me. The Tunguska meteor event marks the reintroduction of the Chimera to Earth, millions of years after they left. If the Chimera are technologically advanced, as I believe they are, why would they use a primitive device like a virus-infused meteor? It speaks of desperation. Perhaps they did not originally leave our planet of their own volition. Perhaps they were forced to leave by something or someone else.
Again, this is also speculation. This is never actually resolved. Maybe it was supposed to be the plot of 4 that whatever, forced the Chimeras to move on to Earth was something bigger, or it was just over volition. At this point, we do not know.
I am honored to have Dr. Malak.
And now Herbert takes
and
over.
a bit intimidated. It will take time to wrap my head
That's a
around
nice
all of this
touch.
data. However, one event early in his notes seems significant. He writes that he interviewed Joseph Capelli after he killed Nathan Hale. Joseph said Hale uttered a mysterious phrase when the wormhole first appeared in the sky. Hale said, "Can you hear them? It's beautiful." Who is them? And what does it have to do with the wormhole? I must research further. There is much to learn.
We gave it a stylized turn to Nathan Hale. Holy shit.
That sounds like a sequel hook.
No, it's more again connected to the prime chimeras that were
In
supposed to
Dr.
come out of the
Malakov's last
wormhole.
entry, he said something fought back against the Chimera millions of years ago, caused them to leave
Oh?
Earth, retract their towers, and close the wormhole. I believe this was another alien race, but that's not the important part. It's Hale. When he asked Joseph, "Can you hear them?" he was referring to pure Chimera. They were talking to him through the wormhole telepathically. Now Earth is getting colder by the day. Why? Why? Because the pure Chimera are
Oh,
coming.
never mind about the sequel
Once
hook.
the planet is
Herbert
cold
finds it
enough,
out.
Millions,
But
maybe
there is still
billions of
some,
pure Chimera are
stuff
going to come
left.
through that wormhole. I can only hope Joseph is successful in New York. Who knows what horrors might travel through that hole in the sky?
Yeah, Masklow's wormhole.
We all leave it to
Last
one
entry.
man.
Even if Joseph
hold on.
does succeed in closing that wormhole, which I'm afraid to admit is highly unlikely, we must still deal with the billions of Chimera left here on Earth. This war is far from over. I must continue Dr. Malakov's research. Perhaps there is something to be learned about this mysterious substance he calls Great.
This is something completely new and probably was supposed to be our sequel hook. Essentially dealing with the remaining chimeras on Earth, you know, and having this substance called Grey Tech.
I guess
that's
on,
it.
I guess on the one hand, it's not too in your face,
And
but
now, video of making, so we're starting with the first level.
Joseph Capelli,
Right.
our hero, the last Sentinel,
Marcus
lives in
Mayfield.
Haven, Oklahoma with his family, and their primary strategy for surviving the occupation of the Chimera is to hide, to stay hidden, to avoid contact. And
This is a
unfortunately,
news
during the course
report
of
for
this
a
level,
second.
you'll see that you've been found out. A Chimeran terraformer, which is this massive
on just this one
beam
man
from
and
the
his
sky,
family.
is descending upon the town. So the winds are whipping.
That's been weird.
It's so massive it creates its own weather patterns, and you will see a lot of wind and experience the whipping nature of that as the terraformer descends.
Yeah, Ted
In one of
Price
these
is the only
sections
person left
in the
in
Haven
world.
Town defense, you're in a junkyard and a new character is introed, which is the Longlegs. They have the ability to jump real high and jump all over
Yeah,
the
that's what
place.
they're called.
One of the big feelings we wanted to create just in this environment, not only with these characters, but with the standard hybrids, is just the sense of just having to survive. We try to build these spaces a little different than R2 and give them lots of options. You know, you can go up high to the top of a
Like
building.
I said,
you can
it's
fight
like
from
I
the
said,
ground.
Joe, but they tried
You're
to
just
make a bit
fighting
more
these guys
verticality
off and
also
trying
to
to
the
hold
level.
them back so the rest of town can escape.
Beginning of the game.
This is
really,
actually our, there you go, this is actually
the
our
Wizard
character
of Oz
design,
stuff. This is the
basically.
hurricane happening.
Like you said, I
Chasing you
think
back-
he also worked
back to
for
the
some
center of
Ratchet
town.
and
You're
Clank
fighting them
games,
off, and they're bringing
but
in more
he's basically
dropships,
being
and it's
the
just like
concept
whole-
artist for the
whole
entire
Chimera
franchise.
force is just coming down on the player right then and there.
You have a certain gaming paradigm involved when you're fighting those hybrids. You're looking for cover. You're trying to move from cover to cover to shoot these things. They're
Sounds
trying to
kind of
beat
similar to the previous two
This is the
games.
complete opposite of having to deal with the whole. Well, oftentimes it starts off with the designer coming up to me and telling me what their needs are. For this particular design, it was Cameron. So he would come to me and tell me what the gameplay is going to be like, the particular powers of it, and then I have to make that fit within the matrix of Chimeran lore and Chimeran design. So I did the initial drawings, and I did a bunch of different heads, some way more alien, much more original, much stranger, but the stranger ones weren't working because it didn't feel like part of the Chimeran ecology. So I had to dial it back to what we had essentially, which is a giant Chimeran gorilla.
Lovely.
In this case, his particular heat stacks were actually located on his chest and on his shoulders, and so that's why, you know, when he overheat, he rips it off, showcasing like the damages that was done underneath. And it's one of those characters that he changes state from, like, you know, goes on all fours, climbing on things and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Not only did we want him smashing through the environment, a lot of his attacks are like.
It sounds like they
fire-based
really
airfield
wanted to make
attacks.
the
So
Hulk
he
with
has
this
airfield grenade
brute.
that he can launch out. He can run and stand on top of buildings and fire barrages.
Maybe that's
Airfield
why they
grenades.
emphasize.
I
If you
did
get
not
close
really
to
manage
him,
to
he'll do a
trigger
double
the air
fist,
grenade,
like,
the air
smash
grenade
into the
attack.
ground,
I don't know what I did
area
wrong.
of effect fire
I can tell you
blast.
it's something that he
The player
does
gets
normally
close
also in
to
easy
the Hulk
mode, so it's
too,
not
and,
exclusive
like,
to
gets
our
punched by
mode.
the Hulk.
With all this
You get
mentioning
knocked
of the
into
Hulk,
walls
I'm
and
guessing
cars,
this
all
is
kinds
why
of
they
stuff.
had a
So we
brute be
really
like
wanna
our
make this
final
guy up in
bad
your
guy
face
to
visual
deal
more than
with.
a lot of the other
Potentially.
characters that fight at range.
Like,
Just-
it's
This
nice,
fight in
guys,
Haven
but you
is the-
do know that
from
the
sort of the opening level of
brute
the game,
is
and it really
still
sets the
essentially a
tone
mook,
for
right?
you in this world that is, it's dangerous.
Not saying you can't be
They're
proud of it,
vastly
but
outnumbered.
like, it's a mook.
And
There's,
there's never really an
like-
opportunity to feel safe.
Oh.
This is the first
Alright,
step
also
in your
this.
journey from Haven, Oklahoma to New York, and as such, we wanted to make it a mysterious aspect.
We're all gonna die!
Again, classic Insomniac humor, they left in a blooper.
Cute.
Yeah.
Our goal with the boat level was really,
like I was saying,
we wanted to have actual movement from place to
Oh,
place,
so what's with the
actual traversal. Since
No idea, Pedro. We may want to
Filter,
stylize the video, but it's more distracting than anything.
My best guess with the filter was they wanted to make it seem like they're in the game itself, but then they brightened it up way too much.
I guess maybe try to frame it like a documentary, but no, not really.
Hotel, things that you see and feel when you're on a road trip. Now in 2010 Safe America.
So did they not have like any of these videos for Resistance 2?
Make it
Not really.
mysterious and
Huh.
Take the player
Like I said,
through
it's
a
weird
ride
because in a lot of Ratchet
where
and
you
Clank games
experience
there is actually
environmental
some
storytelling
museum
at
that has
a level
something like
that we
this.
really can't do.
Yeah.
Players are just running through.
Look, Joseph, straight ahead.
The boat level in Resistance 3 has a couple of responsibilities.
Just a
the
couple?
responsibility of describing the spaces between the more static levels that you visit.
And so after they leave Haven, they come across a boat and they start traveling on a river. And they run into kind of the Mississippi and they run into this town.
Oddly enough, there is a town that would be great if it was underwater named Venice, right next
Watch
to
it.
the mighty Mississippi. There's this wonderful little town named Venice. We actually thought about naming this town
yes,
Venice.
Venice, Louisiana.
Joke, but it matches perfect.
not to be confused with
Wrightsburg,
Venice.
Missouri, which is made up town. It's definitely a change of pace because you've just gotten out of levels where it's crazy, intense combat. So it's like take a breather and like give you time to take in the surroundings. Sort of, this is your first time out of Haven, sort of seeing what the states look like after, you know, Chimeran occupation.
So,
It's based
like
a
what
little
you
bit on
did in
Louisville
2.
Because of just all the reference I took.
Well,
from
no,
there.
they mentioned how we wanted to make something unique with
This
this.
huge climactic
mean,
bridge crunching sequence that
I
it's
guess
kind of
the
a
difference is
technical
that it's a lot
challenge.
more
Bridges
Fallout-ish here, but like,
So she went on
I
location
feel like
and,
the
took some pretty
idea
fantastic
does
pictures
sort
of
of
Minnesota's
overlap
famous
with that
bridge
of 2's, which show the dilapidated states of America.
Well, not on a river, you know, a city that was flooded by a river. The closest was Chicago, and that was even that much.
Took charge
Flooded,
and started
but
coming up
yeah,
with
fair
this
enough.
elaborate backstory about this town that had been.
And granted, maybe they're covering their
we
bases
also
on
wanted
stuff
you
they
to
did in
feel
2 as
lost
well,
and
since
sad
2 didn't
because
get a
we are in
documentary
ruined
like
America.
this one.
And the most optimistic moment in a year is just before Christmas.
Oh my
Because it really
God, I
sort of
completely
ties it back
forgot
to
that this thing
like
took place.
humanity.
Well,
and
never
sense
mind,
of
Well,
never
no,
mind,
the town
it's
was
just the
abandoned
area.
during Christmas time.
Yeah, never
That's,
mind.
again, the achievement, the trophy that you get is for making
And
the
you pick
Santa
up on
prop
this as you go
explode.
through the town, and it has a lot of character. And there is something there. You can feel this kind of history. One of the really cool things about this backstory is the fact that it resonates and kind
cameraman,
of supports
you don't need to zoom in and out on his
meta
face.
story that R3 tells.
Even in
and
that
that
documentary
is
making
a group
God,
of
we cannot
survivors
escape
kind of
shaky
following
cams.
them on a almost day-to-day
Again,
basis
maybe
as
it's
they
for an immersive
exist in
sense,
this
like, oh, they're
fallen
in the world because they use the filter, but
And so that
yeah, I'm
kind
not
of
gonna lie, this is
story
not one of the best shot documentaries I've seen. The camera is
really
constantly
allowed us all
off
to jump
focus.
around and make
Almost
decisions
no
as
one
the
is
level
on center.
progressed.
It is
Again, like
moving.
Pedro said, the filters used are more distracting than anything.
Those two, yeah. Like, I hate to critique a
Alright,
doc-
now let's
Anything
start
but
about the
World of
making
Warcraft,
of.
right, which is what I worked on previously. The test was asking for
Specifically
someone
on
who
the
could draw
first
something
game,
for a realistic
at a radio
first-person
show.
shooter,
Mhm.
and there were implications on the test that was implying kind of thing, and I was
They're
I was thinking
referencing
to
stuff,
myself,
I think,
man,
from
that's
World of
totally what I
Warcraft,
wanna
but
do,
for
man.
copyright reasons I had to
I'm so
censor
geared
it.
up for this.
At the time, Sony didn't really have like a premiere, like, you know, gangbusters FPS hit. So we were thinking, you know, we were just like, we had lunch and we were like, what if, you know, could that be us?
And we were starting to
There's that
brainstorm.
price, huh?
We get together and we brainstorm frequently about what the story could be, what the kind of the gist of the game was. I think very early on
still
we
looks
decided that
so
it was
young,
clearly
but-
about aliens. In the original story, it was all about time travel.
Right,
and-
I was gonna say, it was a
Yeah,
big
like I
kind
said,
of
very good job. I used the
space
concept
opera,
from
like a
2004 that
science
was never
fiction,
seen before, you know,
outer space
in
space
E3.
opera kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And there was this other game called Halo or something. That,
yeah, the Chimeras were very different, more Ratchet and Clank-esque.
We had a distinction.
And that one scene from was kind of what inspired us from the beginning.
With that one scene where like 1,000 enemies are coming over the sand dunes, and you're like, whoa, like what if you could do that in FPS? So that was
interesting.
You know, that's not a world or a hook or anything, but that was
yeah,
kind of
the
like
game
our idea of what if we could somehow
back
get
then
that
when
kind
it
of
came to the
quantity, that
humans
kind
and the
of
environment.
There's that kind of spectacle into an FPS.
A lot of people here at the company felt it wasn't grounded. Like there wasn't a whole lot of, I don't know, there wasn't a good foundation for the story. So yeah, time travel, traveling, going to meteors that had big wormholes in them, it didn't give players anything to hold on to.
Yeah, you can't really connect as much.
Exactly.
It was too soft.
1950s instead of the alternate history, instead of going like contemporary times or something like that.
Well, it started out as World War I.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
and there were biplanes when I first showed up.
And then I think we realized that it was going to be hard to sell that one too, because World War I is kind of an out there concept, and the weapons weren't as cool.
The science fiction at the time, there wasn't any resistance in War of the Worlds. It was really by luck and by act of God that these guys won. Whereas
actually, it was by macros. I know that the act of God is an actual line from the book, but it's more a metaphor than anything.
Guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Fighting back. Yeah, totally.
As the idea was that if the Chimera started in Russia and spread across Asia and then across Europe, Britain would probably be the last place that they'd hit, simply because they'd have to cross the English Channel, and we were.
Yeah, that's right. You have to cross a whole sea to get over here.
Britain had time also to create a great defense network, and we're probably going to be more likely to hold out than any other country. Well, he started out as a
this is now the third media project I've heard of where the aliens have problems with water.
I remember the tentacles. I mean, some of the early drawings. It was really early. It was like kind of Geiger inspired.
The idea was that it was very lizard-like, but now we had this kind of skull head. What ended up happening was that it looked very duck-like, and it drove me nuts. And so.
I still see that image all over the place. By the way,
yeah.
That first Chimera with his mouth open, right?
It was and also prominently
his trips to the dentist must be awkward.
And
like I said, the dental plan for the Chimera program is actually not to
at
scoff
lunch.
about.
I just started, I took the Chimerian head and I started redrawing it, and then I took the gun and I totally redrew it and said, oh, could we rough it out? Maybe we could show it to Ted. Maybe we can at the next iteration, like get this in, and that's how the carbine came out, and sort of the new Chimerian head. It was just me just frustrated at this image. I remember we did a ton of storyboards and the environment concept artist did some great sort of Top Gun looking aircraft carrier things that was, they're never going to see it.
But our intention originally was to start the story on the aircraft carrier and explain how Hale starts off right before the invasion and has to navigate through the ship, learning about
it was
the
literally
background on
supposed
the way,
to be your tutorial, like I
ends up
said.
getting into a VTOL and leaving. But we couldn't get that level
because
done,
of
so
that,
we ended up just
cut
using
away
it for a cinematic.
So,
a major
cut
problem,
for
though,
time.
because that was all of our training was in there.
That's true. Yes, that's right.
And it was a big storytelling step piece. So a lot of the story we're going to tell is just going to come across in dialogue through here. And so when we cut that, we lost our training and kind of our introduction to the character. We had to just find other solutions to all of that.
This
explains
I don't know
so
if we're
going to be able to get this out on time, but we will. We will somehow do it. And I think everybody kind of felt that way.
Boy, it seems like they were making this trilogy by the seat of their pants.
I think the last 6 to 8 weeks or so
gotta
in
mention
particular,
something like that,
the two of you guys and Mark Cerny were playing the games a lot, and we were just
Again,
getting,
Mark
like,
Cerny actually
a lot of
has been
feedback
very
of,
close to
you know,
Insomniac for a long while.
All the setups, lists and lists of things that needed.
Well, he works at the same company that owns the game.
It basically went to the point that Rift Apart actually references Knack in the data log. Yeah.
Cute.
That's the grappling
interesting
hook,
thing.
right?
We're supposed to
the
have grappling hook in the first game.
I remember one of the reasons we cut it. Two reasons. One, it became an
interesting.
uber weapon, so that if you used
Unfortunately,
it
it was too
against any
overpowered.
enemy, it would be an auto kill.
God forbid in
And
a
since
game
it had
that
no
was
ammo,
already
Like I
pummeling
said,
players with
these games
difficulty.
lack a
And the second
BFG.
one was we
Make
were worried
one. You
about
made the
people
Rhino for
dragging
Ratchet and Clank.
physics
Why can't you make
objects
something like that for
into awkward
these
places
games?
and either
I
getting
feel like
stuck
they
or
may have been a little too focused on making things
I think if we had, like,
difficult
3 more
to the
months,
point
we
where,
could have gotten it in,
no.
but, I mean,
We
as
can't let the
as it
player
was,
have
it was,
too much
yeah,
fun
this
with
is a
something
launch
that
title,
might
and
be
we were
OP.
so close to the wire, just getting everything done, just we needed to focus on a few things that were going to be the best, and that one was just like, okay, we can basically cut 1,000 bugs right now if we don't have this.
That is sadly understandable, especially if they were on limited time.
Stories, funny times, sad times, stressful times that you guys remembered and we didn't talk about.
As we saw more and more of the launch titles and realized that Resistance really did stand out.
Like I said, mostly because most of the others were cancelled or did not stood out because who was going to buy Genji Days of a Blade after the memes?
Manchester for the next 3 levels, just kind of like just amazing.
It is interesting talking about how Resistance back then did stand out, seeing as how nowadays, and again, no harp against Resistance, but
and that kind of thing.
I can think of quite a few games that kind of look like it.
It's funny now going back.
It's kind of like with the Fox X-Men movies. They were what helped saving Marvel from bankruptcy in the early 2000s.
Really well.
But, that's kind of it.
Anyway,
the next one we'll be talking about is Resistance 2.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Welcome to a special episode of the Full Moon Show, where we're going to kind of go back and take a look at Resistance 2's development and talk about
it's still
it.
the same radio show. It's just
now what, a year, almost 2 years later after release. Let's kind of go back to the very beginning. When you're starting Resistance 2, what was the first thing like that you knew you had to do with Resistance 2?
Co-op. Simple. I mean, when we were doing our presentations for Resistance 1 in the very beginning, that was the number one question we got was, why don't you have online co-op? We had co-op, but people wanted to be sure that they could play with their buddies online.
Was Resistance originally a trilogy?
Well, if we want to go back all the way to the beginning, Resistance was a space opera, and we ended up with a story that involved time travel and I think flying ships through big holes in asteroids. And then when we moved back to Earth and decided to set it in this alternate 1950s universe, I don't think we talked about a trilogy. I don't remember.
I don't remember. I think we're just trying to get the first one done.
Yeah, that's true. We're thinking about PlayStation 3 launch.
Exactly.
First-person shooter. We haven't done this in a long time. Let's see if we can actually make a compelling story for one game, right? But just to qualify, I mean, I say this a lot in interviews. We don't ever set out to do a game where the story can't be continued. I mean, we want to create franchises and not just one-off games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other focuses, and we're going to get into some of the early decisions.
Yeah, was this before Fuse?
And
also
how'd you go about choosing which sites and cities would be in the game?
Interesting how things change over time, isn't it?
It's more like maybe not that the occasional has something else to do. For all we know, maybe we will continue those. I mean, at least Song of the Deep, it's a self-published IP after all.
The approach we've taken for a lot of our games in the past. When we talk about Ratchet, what planets would be really cool to
well,
visit.
by proxy, that is owned by Sony now, so maybe a sequel will be done for the
constructing the
PlayStation.
story and the game around that.
Some
Going
was a
from
VR game, right?
No.
making games in 1 year,
It's the
to
one
2
about the
years
submarine Metroidvania,
was
Pedro.
an attempt to
There are
make
two
it a little
VR
bit easier,
titles,
but
yes.
what we ended up doing
I
was
don't know
expanding the
anything
scope
about them.
for our games. And so for Resistance 2, it had a massive scope, 60-player multiplayer, 8-player online co-op, really big single-player campaign.
13-hour campaign.
Yeah,
Not really,
and so we
but
bit off
sure.
a lot. And when we took into account the fact that we lost basically 6 months by starting over with our code base, it did create this frantic pace where we were all just trying to get everything in that we could. Instead of saying from the very beginning, okay, we got 12 big ideas for this game, we're going to make them all work, and we got lots of people, so no problem, let's go.
Everybody run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's super exciting. I think Insomniac's history, though, is frantically making excellent games.
Yeah.
And I
A
think
methodology
it's awesome
that
to see,
can
like,
lead to
what
burnout,
they
so
do
be careful, guys.
with 3 years instead of, I mean, the Ratchet games were all made in 1 year cycles.
Granted, aren't Insomniac
now
still
we've
kind
shifted
of
to 2
being the
years, but even
studio
as
that
a
does
small
like
team and a big team,
everything?
I think that seeing what we can do in 3 years.
Considering the pacing showcasing the
About
data
one of the other kind
fact,
of big things. So
showcase
remember
they
the
want to
focus,
slow down even
for
more.
Resistance 2 was a lot of the things we said were hail and scale.
I think we delivered on scale, for sure.
Oh,
I mean, that was
boy,
the whole
that's
idea
huge.
behind these bosses.
Leviathan, I mean,
Leviathan was a totally unique experience, yeah.
You had,
Hold on.
I think at that point seen anything like that in a first-person shooter. I mean, period. And I don't know if you, even to this point, I don't think
What
you
year
haven't
was
seen
Gears
any
2,
other shooter
Pedro?
attempt something that big.
It made a good E3 demonstration.
1 year before,
especially
well,
for the
same way
Insomniacs,
around
knew
this.
exactly what was
Final
going
Boss
on
is
as I was up
technically
there on
better
stage
than this
playing.
guy.
Oh,
I'm Ted Price,
yeah, without a
President
doubt.
and CEO of Insomniac Games.
And the Final Boss
and
of
this
Gears
is
2 is
Resistance 2.
considered the weakest point of the
At the
original
time, the
trilogy.
Leviathan
Also,
was
here this one.
carefully timed, so that if you messed up, everything would basically come to a grinding halt. And so I was up on stage and we had no backup. It was basically me just playing through the demo, hoping that things were going to go well.
Yep, there was a very good chance that Price could have fucked up with the presentation back at E3.
Right? And
not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to see that.
Couch. And I was thinking, okay, I have about a second to get unstuck before the game basically.
It also says a lot about E3 presentations because a lot of times either are pre-made or they are basically on, you know, walking on a tight.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, he's off. He's off.
Yeah. I just felt bad about the environment artist you fired for that. That's not true. That's not true. That's a
Going
joke.
to specify.
The last question, I guess, for all three of you is, you know, looking back on it now, how do you view Resistance 2, and, you know, and how is it shaped, I guess, where you're hoping to go with Resistance 3? And you don't have to get too specific about Resistance 3 because we haven't talked about it much yet, but what are kind of the main things you learned and think about when you think about Resistance 2 now?
Don't piss off
you
the
didn't put that one on the list. I didn't think about that. You want to go first?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
I think focus on a theme and make it work really well is something that I think we wanted to do with Resistance 2 in America, and I think we learned a lot more about how to do that well.
Fuck no.
Taking that ahead to Resistance 3. That's one thing I'll contribute.
Yeah, I think just kind of reining in the ideas a little bit and focusing a little bit more on quality instead of trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Jake? Last chance?
Last chance.
Wax poetic?
Yeah. I guess for me, you know, Resistance 2 was really a great experience. I mean, I think that, you know, everybody was working on their own thing, and it really felt like we brought it together at the end. You know, I didn't really get a chance to play a whole lot of single player until the end, but when I did, it was really a great experience. And again, we all had this scale, this underlying notion of scale.
Guess
and
to
that
give
was
him
something
credit,
that I think
yes, the
permeated
single player
each of the
does feel the
modes
most
and kind of gave
fleshed
a
out
consistent feel
into,
throughout
for
them that we
better
were
or for
pushing
worse.
size and scale. And I also think, you know, we intentionally pushed the limits of each of the modes, things that had never been done before in either co-op, competitive, or single player. So I think that is something that I'll
Probably a lot of things in a single player were done in Call of Duty, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Whoopsie!
Again, PR statements, you know them, you recognize them immediately.
Yeah. The only thing I can add to that is I was really happy with how the whole Hale story turned out. I think that from the beginning we were wondering who this guy is, and we set out to make a character with an emotional arc that would create some sort of emotional connection with the person who was playing him. And then we, of course, ripped that emotional connection out at the very end. But to me, it was fully realized. And I hope players appreciated it.
Well, it's nice.
I would say that.
Well, I mean, at least they did it. At least they didn't
care,
just do it to be dicks
there was
about it.
definitely some emotional attachment during Resistance 2, even though he's dead. Well, that's all for this special retrospective episode on Resistance 2.
I mean,
we'll
how
be back
Resistance
soon with
3 turned
another
out, I think,
interesting
really
episode
shows
about
that they
something we'll
felt
pick up
that
in the future, 'cause I don't know what it's gonna
backlash.
be next time. But stay tuned
Also,
soon, and
they're about
we'll
to have
be
a
back
last
with another
minute
episode
question
from
right
Joe.
after these
Later.
credits, so.
Okay.
A lot of fun. Yeah. Tyler Campbell says 10,000 kills trophy.
Yeah, that one is still stupid.
This is where I dive under the table and say, not me.
Yeah. And now, if I recall correctly, I said a bug reel. Not in my music, by the way, it's something that Insomniac did. Oh god, Capelli, what's wrong with your face?
Whoa,
Their
God.
faces are melting.
He's
turned into the Terminator.
Oh, whoa.
Is this a side effect of the Chimera virus?
You see, Dwebs.
Multiplayer bug.
You see, Dwebs, this is what a game
Monica
can...
standing on top of a train.
You see, folks, this is
Oh,
what...
God.
Oh! You see, folks, this is what games can be like in the development process before the bugs are coded out.
Dreams jumping out of a train wagon. Cars moving out of their own volition.
Again.
The cars are getting in there. Oh! Whoa! Jeez.
Wide hybrid.
Holy cow, lose some weight, dude.
They're frozen in time.
Johnny Long Torso Hybrid. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, whoa!
Frame
stuck in
chopping
frames.
gorilla. You can do for that for multiverses,
Never
I
mind,
guess.
that
You can
was
apply
scary.
for it.
That's actually more scary than the Chimera.
He's going up! He's been raptured! Never mind.
And they gave up. Then they realized, oh yeah, he killed a bunch of people. Never mind.
The Widowmaker, go
Don't
into
go
space.
without me!
A random lawyer with a box. Turkey.
Of course.
Some voiceover outtakes, actually.
You're a good man, John Harper. You got a pretty mouth, too. Follow the tunnel under the church. I'll be right behind
Unfortunately, these are not subbed.
Follow the tunnel under the church.
I killed Nathan Hale after a beer.
If you
Yeah,
see that
I was
brawler,
joking, I
don't
killed
try to
him.
fight it. I think the damn thing's invincible. How I would know this information since I did not fight this brawler, I do not know. Let's lose her in the apartments! If I say it louder, she won't notice. We gotta show everyone else how to live. Know what I mean? Now show them how to wait for that level to load.
Hey, Joe. I checked on the garden this morning. Goddamn tomatoes are frozen. But the peas and beans still look
Random
good.
NPCs that you find at the beginning
Well,
of the
let's go
first
with
level, by
fucking
the way.
cucumbers.
Because you're wondering where those lines come
With God
from.
now. Bless their souls.
Laura Bailey,
I'm hungry.
completely corpsing.
I don't need a fart. I swear.
That's nice,
Never
dear.
fart in a booth.
Again, if you're
Not
used,
my years,
if
I've
you're
never
if
once
you're
farted in a
listened to
booth.
Critical Role,
No
you're
way.
kind of used to her behaving
I'm
like
upstairs
this.
on the west side of the complex by the fuse box. Hurry! Did I mention you're a moron? What you do? You go get a cup of coffee or something? Get off that bong and keep playing.
Why does he do that? Is he
I need your
stupid?
help, friend. Upstairs by the fuse box.
Stoned gamers at the
My
time.
friend, I mean
with,
idiot.
that's what one of the
Throw it when it
stereotypes.
opens its mouth. You've got to do the Jaws thing. Ah, start! Wajcikowski, Lodski! Lodki Fahari, Loy. And he's really great coming in there, Jimmy, you know what I mean? That's Billy Connolly. What?
He was
We
not
should be
actually
safe.
Russian, though.
We should. Oh, fuck. Everyone should be safe. But we're not. It's a crazy world, Joseph. You know how we roll. We bitches and, you know, the vodka. And... Anyway, focus. This ice will be the death of us. Well, the ice is pretty sensitive. If those leapers are any indication, we may not... Ah, shit.
30
Yeah, that-
seconds
that would
remaining.
be a bad-
Here's David
Get
Case
all the fucking time
saying
in the
about the
world.
multiplayer lines.
Shit, kids, just keep playing this motherfucker. It's $1 a minute. Take your time. Bomb detonated. Station destroyed. We're fucked.
And now, one final bit. See, we call that the Steve Ryder concept. It's just a bunch of models doing weird shit. But apparently, there were supposed to... Again, the idea showcasing also some scrap concept, like some flying chimeras. Kind of wish we got these. It looks like I'm watching a Gmod animation video. What the hell is this?
Is this the parody spin-off of Resistance?
Again, this is again. If you know anything about Insomniac and sense of humor, this feels much more right at home for them.
It's like a Matrix type of Neo, which parodies its own plot.
The Chimera are evolving. They've learned folk
They're
music.
becoming Southerners. Oh no! Howdy.
That's how Chimera say, yeehaw!
And that's how it ends. We get bored by Satan. Good to
That's
know,
all,
I guess.
folks.
That's all.
But yeah, that's it. Now that sheds a bit of light onto, well, what happened with the making of this series. But like I said, we already did the final thoughts, but we're not technically done with this franchise yet. Tune in eventually, where we go back to Europe and the PSP emulated on PS4 for Resistance Retribution to see what the rest of the British were up to. See ya.
See you then.
Bye.